To talk about how African DNA tests are a scam, let's start with the big companies like AfricanAncestry.com. AfricanAncestry.com uses something called haplogroups to tell us what tribes we come from. Haplogroups are genetic mutations that we label and that we kind of use like genetic fingerprints. For example, haplogroup B4A1A1B is found heavily in Malagasy populations. If someone was adopted and they took a DNA test and got that haplogroup, we can conclude that they likely have Malagasy ancestry. We match the fingerprints. Now there are two major issues when using haplogroups to find African tribes. One is the fact that every tribe has numerous haplogroups and most aren't very unique like the Malagasy haplogroup. Let's make a simple example. Let's say the haplogroups 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are found in the Yoruba tribe, and haplogroup 5 is found 50% of the time, so at a higher rate, or at a high rate. So let's say your haplogroup is 5 and you get a test from AfricanAncestry.com. They will tell you that you come from the Yoruba only because haplogroup 5 is found at a high rate in that tribe. It's a guess. It's an educated guess, but it's still just a guess. Say you can also find haplogroup 5 in the Mandinka tribe, but at a lower rate. So your lineage could have easily been Mandinka, but AfricanAncestry.com ignores that just because there are other tribes that have it at a higher rate. So it's more likely that you come from that tribe. Now, those are just simple examples. In reality, you can find over 50 haplogroups in the Yoruba, and these same haplogroups are found in hundreds of other tribes just at different ratios. So basically, it's just one big guessing game. The next major issue is the fact that most diaspora, and especially ADOs, are mixed with over 40 tribes. So no matter what they send us, it's technically true. If I'm told I come from the Yoruba, Igbo, and Mandinka, and another person is told they come from the San, Congo, and Sena, it's likely I also come from the San, Congo, and Sena, but we don't see that because my results are based on my haplogroups, which are just based on only 2 branches of my tree. My paternal haplogroup comes from my father, which comes from his father, which comes from his father, and so on. Yet what about my paternal grandmother and her parents and their parents and so on? And you could say the same thing for my maternal side. Every person has 4,096 10th grade grandparents. So we all have thousands of branches in our genetic tree. But AfricanAncestry.com's results are just based on 2 of them. And the results from those 2 branches are just based on guesses. So what Ancestry so basically what AfricanAncestry.com and these other companies are doing are making educated guesses. And they're only presenting one piece of the pie. When you look at the whole pie, we all have origin from those tribes because most diaspora are mixed with 20, 30, 40 or more tribes. It's a scam. To that, I want to say there are ways to figure out what tribes we originate from. Actually, there is documentation of where we originated through enslavement ports, and there was documentation of what ethnic groups or tribes were transported. Another thing is I understand people's desire to um, connect with Africa, but I would suggest that people don't just jump over 400 years of history and culture to and just jump over that straight back to Africa. We have 400 years of heritage. We have 400 years of roots. We have 400 years of culture. When we traveled to the Americas, we developed into a new ethnic group and we developed new cultures. Um, we developed new music and dances and clothing and hairstyles and religions and spiritual practices. So we don't have to always jump over 400 years of histories to do that. And if we are going to reconnect, we're going to have to make sure um, what tools and approaches we're using are accurate.